In just under 1 week's time, the most prestigious tournament of the year will be happening in Austin, Texas, where 31 teams will battle out to see who can take second place behind Team Vitality. It's time for the Major. This means it's the most important weeks of everyone's lives, as now it is the moment to decide your Pickems. But before I offer my insight, let me tell you about today's sponsor, SkinsMonkey. SkinsMonkey is a trusted, fully automated platform that offers a quick and simple way to trade your skins. See how effortlessly you can swap out your old skins for fresh ones. In just minutes, you'll have a brand new look. Plus, when you use the code ASH, you'll get up to $5 in free credit as a welcome bonus on your first trade. The more you trade, the larger the bonus. Not in the mood to trade? No problem. You can just purchase skins directly. SkinsMonkey also hooks you up with a 35% deposit bonus when you use the code ASH. Plus, they have a free section where you can easily tackle tasks to claim free skins or enter daily, weekly, and monthly giveaways. Want to try? Check out SkinsMonkey by clicking the link in the description of this video. So this is my first Pickems video on the channel. Notoriously, RMRs are incredibly difficult to make predictions for, but this is a little bit different, and usually the difficulty is because of the best of ones, but this time there isn't the pressure there of making the sticker money because obviously the teams have already made it. So I guess we're just going to dive into it. I think probably the best way I'll go for now is talking about the weaker side of the bracket, and I'll look at the teams that I think probably aren't ready right now to make it. And I think that the EU teams here are pretty strong. They're just kind of mostly unproven. The teams that I don't think are ready for it right now are Imperial. I just think that they're not the strongest at the moment, and the form of the NA teams is pretty poor as well, especially NRG and Wildcard. I'm very concerned. They both lost really hard recently, played against good opposition. Even Complexity using a stand-in, but I think I have more faith in those guys. FlyQuest, I think, are a little bit iffy right now. Fluxo kind of a little bit unproven, though they are in pretty good form. And there's teams like Chinggis Warriors, who kind of just, we don't really know anything about them. So I think the first team I'll go for the 0-3 will be Chinggis Warriors, just because we don't really know them at all, and they're also the worst seed. I think their best chance of avoiding this is probably the best of one against FlyQuest in the first game. So this is definitely a tricky pick. This is, if they lose that first game, I'm pretty confident they will go 0-3, but FlyQuest are in really iffy form as well, and I think you don't really trust them so much right now. These picks are always the hardest one, and the team that you always go for 0-3 almost never happens, so that's going to be my first one. And I think my second one is probably going to surprise. I'm going to go for NRG. I'm just really concerned about their form recently. And also their seed looks like it could give some really difficult games when I did the simulator. And that's because first game they have Tyloo, who I think will be one of the strongest teams here. And then after that, it could just get really nasty for them. And I think form here is really important. If you don't win one of these best of ones, it gets really tricky. And I think the first game they're going to play in the best of threes will be Wildcard, who I think are just a little bit better than them right now. So these are the teams I'll go for 0-3. And then also the teams for 3-0 then. So I think first off right now, everyone's very high on Heroic, and I absolutely 100% agree with it. And I think Saw is definitely one of the best coaches out there in the world right now. And he absolutely deserves his move to G2, which was announced yesterday, I believe. I think also this team probably knew about this in advance, or at least had some talks about it. They came to terms with it a little bit. So I don't think they'll be negatively affected by it so much. Their form is good, their map pool's pretty good. I think they're just kind of growing all the time anyway. So I would still trust them to go through this stage 100%. This is the other pick though, that you just, a best of one tripping you up somewhere can always be a problem. I think Heroic will do 3-0. And I think the other team I'm pretty confident in, because we played them a few times, is Tyloo. And that's because Jamyoung I think is brilliant, and so is G. And the team itself just seems to shoot so hard. When we played against them, they've given us some really hard games. I think they're in good form as well. And when I did the simulation also, it seems like unless they play against Heroic, which I think is more unlikely than anything else, I think they're just going to blitz their way through. They're being proven on LAN. They're in good form right now. They shoot super hard. I think everything kind of you want for this stage is kind of there. And I'm going to go for the teams that I think are consistent now that the pressure isn't there. When the RMR was there before, the pressure was really high because you had to make it or you don't make any sticker money. I'll go for Tyloo and Heroic for the 3-0 teams. So then if we're looking at the teams that are 3-1, or I believe we'll go 3-1, I think there's 3 picks here that I'm very comfortable with and confident in, more so than the 3-0-0-3 games where anything can just go wrong. I think the first team I'll put in is Bait. I think they're probably the best tier 2 team right now, if not right up there anyway. They're very consistently winning their games. The main criticism of Bait before has just been the form of like head trick and MPL on LAN has been really poor, I think, at times, and underwhelming. They had one event at the end of last year, I think, where they performed a little bit better. but I don't really trust them so much on LAN. Like I said, you take away the pressure now. I think that just the best teams will most likely go through. So I think they're a team I would pretty much trust. And the only trouble here is that they might go 3-0. If maybe, for example, they play against Tyloo and have a good game. So Bait are going to go in there 100%. I don't think there's any way that they're missing this stage, unless they have a terrible best of ones. But they've always been pretty good at those. And the second team I'm going to put through, maybe not based on form so much, but we are playing on LAN, or they are playing on LAN. I wish we were playing there. And that would be BetBoom. That's just because the caliber of player they have is super strong. I think they're playing pretty good Counter-Strike. It probably works better the way they're playing against the Tier 1 teams rather than this kind of messy style of Tier 2. I would trust those guys to go through just because they have that experience, and these guys could even go a little bit further. So I don't think there's too much to say about those guys. I do believe they'll make it. The third team I'll go for then in this 3-2 bracket will be Legacy. I've been pretty impressed with them in the last few tournaments. We played against them not so long ago at Bucharest, and they give us a really tough game. I think they shoot pretty hard, but in Brazil, they're just kind of mopping up the competition, and the teams that are here, quite a lot of them are getting routinely 2-0'd by them. I think they're improving quite a lot. I think they're a pretty safe team to go in the 3-1 bracket anyway. I think it's probably the safest team out of everyone so far that I'm confident won't go 3-0 and won't not make it. So Legacy I think is a really strong choice. I would definitely advise go for this team. Nothing about them says that they're not really going to make it. I don't think you can really make an argument. And when I looked also at the potential run, it also isn't the hardest. So I would back them to go through. Okay, the next team I'm going to put through, this is probably going to be a controversial one, but when I did the simulations, it just feels like they have a really easy run, and that's even if they go down in the first game to Legacy. It seems like their seed, they're just going to give them a great path, and that is going to be Vision. I think also these guys do shoot very hard as well, which matters, to be honest, quite a lot when you go to LAN. Maybe not so much the tactics, but you have to have that individual ability. When I saw the games I had to play against, NRG potentially early on, I think OG as well, I'm not so confident in, very young team, and potentially a 2-2 decider against FlyQuest, according to my simulation. I think this is kind of favourable for them, and if the games work out as they should work out, I expect Vision to go through. That never really is the case, but I think they still shoot hard enough to still have a chance. So this is definitely a tricky one to go for, but I do have some faith in them. I've seen a bit of them online recently, which gives me some confidence in them as well. I would put Vision in there. And though I just mentioned them as potentially beating OG, I still think OG have a good chance here. Their lineup is very good, and like I mentioned Chrism before in my prospects video, I think he's doing an amazing job here. Nico does on LAN, always very reliable. I think they just have some very reliable players, even if they are kind of untested on LAN. Maybe they'll have a slow start. Maybe they'll be a little bit better in the best of ones even, I'm not quite sure. I expect them not to look the best here, and that is fine, that's expected. This is a team that also might not go through, but I think similar to Bait, they're kind of really performing very well at Tier 2. They're kind of ready for that challenge to step up, and maybe like having no RMR pressure to make the major and make the sticker money. I think they could really make a good run here, and they could go through. I will go with them now. I like the lineup. I think they're more reliable for me than some of the other teams, which we'll talk about in a minute. And then the last team I'm going to go for is, even though they are using the stand-in, I've been extremely impressed by Complexity. And again, this Tier 1 experience, it does matter, in my opinion. In previous years, it hasn't mattered so much. But again, like I said, the weight of expectations kind of gone now, and I think that for the underdog teams was kind of like a big reason to put the underdog teams through, and it made it all very unstable. It doesn't mean as much here now. Obviously, it still means a lot, but I think they have enough to get over the line. Holzok missing he's been amazing this year. I think Junior is a pretty good person to slot in there anyway. So I think I'll just have Complexity going through. And also when I checked in my simulation, it felt like Complexity also had another very easy run. And that's probably because they are seeded the #1 team. And when you are seeded very high in this, it means you get a very favourable 2 opponents if you lose your first game. And I think that's the way it kind of will go. So it does look like they'll most likely play against Fluxo, potentially play against Legacy, which I have them down to lose. And I think they're better than Wildcard right now, even though I do rate the players on Wildcard. And that will put them in Decider against Metasport, I believe. I think Complexity will just out Metasport for now. I don't think Metasport are ready to make it through this stage yet, but I think they'll be one of the closest teams. So if I go through the teams that I don't think will make it, I think Metasport, yeah, like I said, they're lacking just an experience together on LAN. I think their form's been a little bit up and down as well. They haven't really got the pedigree right now of Bait and OG online in Tier 2. They haven't really got the heads around it. Maybe against the Tier 1 teams, it'll be better, but you're kind of just gambling a little bit there. And this team, the teams at this event aren't really Tier 1 anyway, so I'm not sure particularly it will be any different. I do have faith in them online. I think it's going to be very, very close for them. And if you tossed up between them and Complexity, I think that's fair enough, to be honest. Namiga is another team as well. I think they're similar to Bait. I just don't trust them on LAN. Namiga are kind of the less consistent version of Bait. And on LAN, they haven't really done anything in the last couple of years. So I don't have as much confidence again. But take away the RMR, maybe the pressure has been a big issue for them before. And they can finally start showing what they're capable of. Because online, they're a very difficult team to play against. I think also we lost against them in the MRQ. And then FlyQuest as well. I just think the trajectory is kind of really down at the moment. And going to this tournament, form is probably the most important thing. I don't think any team that I've put to go through here is on poor form at all. They're all in very good form, feeling good. And to go into best of ones, you need to be feeling good, shooting hard very quickly. You don't have time to mess up, as you saw when we didn't make this major in the first place. We started very slowly. It puts you on the back foot. I think those teams are going to struggle. I don't think Flux are quite ready yet. These are the teams I would go for. There are some teams here that you definitely can't rely on. I think you have to go in form for now. These are the teams I would pick. Go for these teams, get your coin. All right, thank you for watching. If you disagree with my picks, write them in the comments. I want to see what everyone else is saying. And come back in a few weeks' time. Come back. Get in the comments then. Let me know. Don't tell me now that I'm wrong. Tell me in a couple of weeks that I'm wrong. As always, thank you for watching, everyone. Please subscribe, comment, and everything, and see you next time.